G'day, Steve Morgan, Fishing Media, back in Brisbane for this Tackle Fridays. You may remember that last week we were up at the back of a cabin at Awoonga Dam and we were just getting ready to fish the Awoonga round, sponsored by Mollocks of the Throwback BARRA series this year. And it was great weather through the whole weekend. And I did say that the lake was going to fish really well, and it did. In fact, the winning weight from that Awoonga round, Corey and Warren won that from Gladstone Fly and Sport Fishing. It was heavier than the winning weight from Kobe and Jake at Mondrian. So Awoonga actually had a bigger 10 fish limit than Mondrian had. And I think that's really cool because we have another event at Awoonga in a month or two's time. The Venom Rods Barra Australian Open. It'll be 3 days at Awoonga, and it'll be in November when the water will be warm. When we were there, it was like 22 to 24 degrees, the water. It'll be warmer then, and if you're a person that thinks warm water is better for good barra fishing, man, that lake is set to go off this summer. And mark my words, in a couple of years, people will be going to Awoonga. Maybe they'll be driving past Mondrian to go there. There are so many fish in there in those smaller size classes. The bigger ones are built like tanks. Check out some of the photos here. I caught a 111. Nicole caught fish as big as 108. See how huge they are. They're hard to bring in the boat. They are that big. Some of the teams did great. Overall, the lake fished really, really well, even though it was quite cool, but that weather remained stable. Some of our stats for that week, we had 4 nights of fishing. First night, I think we may have had 1 bite, but no fish. Second night, got a couple of bites, and I got a 111 centimetre fish. We landed 1. Third night, and this was the first night of competition, we actually had 5 bites, but only landed 2 fish, and one of those was over a metre and one was a 70-something. And on the 4th night, we had 10 bites and landed 3, a 108 of Nicole's, a 101 of Nicole's, and a metre fish of mine. So definitely as we were there, and we were fishing on the new moon phase this time. It wasn't a full moon phase. We thought we'd try a new moon. Catches were really good. In fact, the catch cadence, I think, was better than when we were there on the full moon last time. But basically, we nearly doubled our bites every night because we were learning the fish, and we basically refined our areas to spots where there were fish. And the more you put your lures in front of fish, the better you catch them. Of course, we live scoped a lot. I love doing that. It's and we found jerkbaits were the best. And one of the rigs I had the Samaki Reddick, the DS80. We both used those. We found that they spooked the fish less as they landed in the water. Awoonga's crystal clear, and those fish, when they're shallow, are pretty spooky. But also that's what got bit for us. So a lot of fish hooked right in the nose, a lot of nips at the lure. Only one fish had the lure way down, but I think that feeding rather than nipping reaction will change as the water gets warmer and the metabolism speeds up and they get hungrier. So it was a good trip. Love my barra fishing, of course. I'm not the best at it, but I really enjoyed doing it, and we knocked a few barra over that weekend. The aim, of course, when the Open's on, is to try and get your limit one of those nights. We'll see how we go for there. Some of the products I've got at the moment, they turned up a few weeks ago, but I haven't been right in studio here to do them, are some products from Bill Klassen at AFN. Now, anyone who knows the old magazine industry, Bill Klassen's got Freshwater Fishing magazine, still going strong, one of the few magazines left. It outlasted my magazine, and I intended to be the last man standing in that industry. But Bill does a great TV show, he does a magazine, and he does some wholesale products, mainly marketed under the brand Sea Pro there. So it's Sea Pro stuff, a lot of camping stuff, a lot of boating stuff, but moving into the fishing side of things. And there's 3 products I want to talk about this afternoon. First one are these ones here that got released after. They're called a crowbar spinnerbait. So a DFX crowbar. I think built in the response to the fact that normal spinnerbaits with normal wires do get torn up by some of Australia's bigger predators like yellowbelly and Murray cod, especially Murray cod. These crowbars have been built, I think, built tough and built in a way I haven't seen a spinnerbait built before to deal with it. So they've nearly got like a forged wire in there. If you have a nice close look at that, that's a standard tandem spinnerbait. Standard sort of head, but check out the size of the hook. Big sharp hook, and that forged arm means that it is super strong. So I probably could bend it if I let on any harder, but much stronger than a normal spinnerbait with big hooks on it there. So Murray cod guys especially, I think you're going to love those fellas there. If you have a problem with spinnerbaits getting destroyed, if you're happy to get a spinnerbait bent up by a big Murray cod, put it on the wall of the garage, I'm cool with that because that turns into a great trophy. But there you go. There's the DFX crowbar spinnerbait. It's got a few there that if I get into cod country, we will give those a go. Probably something with broader appeal though. Two products here that are line related. One's a sinking braid, this DFX sink braid here. It's a braid and it has a sinking insides in it. So the basics of braid, generally they float. And because they float, when you cast out and the lure sinks down, I call it hinging. So if you look at the profile, if I'm saying looking on forward view of a live sonar, I'll throw out, a lure will sink to the bottom, but when I start winding it in, it doesn't come, the line's not pointing in a straight line to the lure. Normally the floating braid is quite shallow and then it gets dragged down and your leader and lure are sitting straight on the bottom. So when you start winding in, that lure will actually go up a lot before it starts planing horizontally. So if you're live sonar fishing and you throw behind a fish and you expect that lure to come straight past the fish, often that lure will go up and away from the fish. You have to wind it quite a long way and quite a long way vertically from the fish until you can drop it again in front of the fish vertically. So the theory is the sinking braid actually brings that hinge down. I'm sure it doesn't take it away totally, but it may minimise that hinge. We minimise hinge at the moment by using the thinnest possible braid we can. If we use really, really thin braid, it'll cut through the water better, and as you apply a bit of tension to it, that hinge will straighten out. This stuff has got stuff called a carbon core on the inside, and that's obviously denser than water because it's got to offset the floating properties of that braid and actually drag it down through the water column. Now, the DFX braid available in anything from 10 pound to 50 pound, but because it's braid, it's the mono equivalent is quite small. So the 10 pounds equivalent to 1 pound mono, and the 50 pound to 15 pound mono. So still thin, but sinking. So I'm going to enjoy trying that, especially with my forward live sonar sniping. Got a few spools of it there. One's a 20 pound spool, one's a 12 pound spool. So obviously ideal for bass, ideal for the Barra. So we shall try that out. The second, C-Pro Co-Filament Leader, Tournament Leader, Fluoro Fusion. So again, this is a multi-part line, and the way this works is it's a fluorocarbon outer and a mono inner. And I'm just going to make sure that's right because a nylon inner, Japanese nylon core, and 100% fluorocarbon outer core, delivering maximum strength for diameter while remaining invisible in the water. So the theory is it's going to be more abrasion resistant than normal fluorocarbon, because of the core. Now, fluorocarbon is quite hard, and some fluorocarbons, once you wear through the outer part of the fluorocarbon, get quite weak. I've done quite extensive fluorocarbon testing, and there are some brands that have a reputation for being abrasion resistant, but I think none of the fluorocarbons are as abrasion resistant as mono. And of course, the classic example of that is that Schneider, the 55 and the 80 pound Schneider, which is a favourite amongst Barra fishermen. Barra, of course, put a lot of stress on the tackle, and we call it getting chewed off when the abrasive mouths just rub against that leader under high pressure. The mono seems to do better than the fluorocarbon. So this will be interesting to test as well. The Co-Filament Leader by AFN. I'm pretty sure it's in shops now, and I've got a few different spools of this to test. There's a 5 kilogram spool there, 14.5 kilogram, 6 kilogram, and 38 kilograms. So it's available all the way from 7 pound to 130 pound, that leader. So I'm going to enjoy testing that over the next few months, and I'll come back to you, letting you know how I think it compares against some of the existing products that I use. Of course, what I love using in the brim is that Daiwa X-Link leader and some of the Chinu Harris leader. In the braid side of things, I just use thin braid rather than sinking braid. So it'll be interesting to see if I have more control and save time with lure sinking by using a sinking braid rather than the normal braid. So there's some products from AFN that may be worth looking at if that rings your bell as to their properties. Another thing's happening at the moment is before we head off for the Brim Grand Final another week and a bit, we've already started moving with Rapala. So if you don't know how it works, we've got a big office for a couple of people. Nicole and I work in here sort of full time. Rapala lease out the back, and they've got a small office. We've got probably 50% more space than them. As it happens, Rapala's growing, and I'm not. So we've decided that we're going to swap offices. And it's a pretty complicated process. At the office here at Shayla Park, I used to have 25 staff upstairs. We moved downstairs with 15. And now there's 2 of us, and there is a lot of shit lying around. We've been spending the last few weekends just clearing stuff up, filling the bins up, sorting what we need, what we don't need, and getting ready so that when we go to Victoria, we probably can start moving some bits and pieces in. And when we get back from Victoria, that's when we'd go heavy duty on the move. You can see in the photo here, I've got myself some nice slat walling all the way along the inside of the back wall, and that's where my boat's going to be. My boat used to live inside here. It used to be luxury for my boat. It's been outside for 3 or 4 years now. When I say outside, it's under a carport, but it'll go back inside now into some air-conditioned comfort. So I want to have my tackle close to that. So the wall right along the back where the boat sits, going to have all my lures that were in my tackle room. They're going to be all up along the wall there. Rods, reels, everything close, all in that one room. So I'll keep you informed of the process of that. But there you go, right here again. That's what it looks like at the moment. So I've had a few days. Mitchy Petty from Rapala's helped me. We've been screwing stuff into the wall, slat walling. I went to Lismore actually to buy that slat walling second hand. Got a good deal. Facebook Marketplace. Last thing today, a little bit of history. Bit of ABT in my history because I've got all sorts of things lying around the walls. And for around 10 years... when I had designers, they used to make us these things. These are little celebratory little canvases of winner one tournaments, and it's got a picture of the badge there. It's got the weights that I used to that you'd win with, the winning lure, and maybe a picture of some of the fish. And check out who's that in that picture there. That was when the first time I won St Helens in Tasmania, and my non-boater one of the days was Mark Healy. Should have known at the time. He gave me a bit of a hiding from the back of the boat, actually. He was a bit of an expert using the little teardrop suspending cranker cranks. They're they look like a yellowfin lure, but they work great on the brim. Small bib in front of them there. I reckon he would have had a limit before I had 2 or 3 fish, but I ended up clawing my way back with enough weight. And that's the other thing about this photo. Check out that. Only 6-point-something kilos for 10 fish to win a tournament in Tassie. I will guarantee you that is the lightest weight ever to win an ABT tournament in Tassie. So there you go. If you're a non-boater and you've just won your event, you might be like Mark Healy 10 years' time. I don't know how long this one is. Actually, I do. 2011 that was, so that's 14 years ago. Who knows where your fishing career is going to take you. There's my brush with fame right there, Mark Healy. From the back of the boat, both of us took home first place badge. That's it for this week. By this time next week, we will be getting ready to go to the Daiwa Brim Grand Final in Victoria and the Shimano Brim Open. Just quietly, Nicole, how many entries have we got to the Open now? 34 boats for the Victorian Open. And I always say, in any fishing tournament, the first time you run a new tournament, if you get 20 boats, you're a genius. So I don't know what nearly double that is, but we're going to claim it as genius. Going to have a great show covered by Steve Starling and Josh Carpenter. Going to be sitting in the commentary box. We'll have a 3-hour live show each day. It's 100% payback at the moment. It's 6 or 7 grand first prize. 100% payback. We have a great dinner at the Meetung Hotel on the briefing night, all on Shimano's tab. So we're going to really enjoy bringing that event to you. And from that event, go straight into the Daiwa Brim Series Grand Final, where we give away a $95,000 boat. 150 Racing Mercury on the back, over $20,000 worth of Garmin gear. It's an Alloy Craft 530 Bass Pro, green marine batteries, all the Garmin gear. It is an incredible package that we're putting together at the moment. We'll see you next Friday, where we will be all paddock stations getting ready for that event.